What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. I just ran a funny text from a buddy right as we went live. That was a very, very bad idea. How we doing, gents, on this glorious April 21st, just 3 days away from the draft?
Hey, ready to go, baby. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
I'm doing well.
Go ahead.
No, I'm just doing well. That's all.
Hey, there you go. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Y'all see you later.
Jacob's doing good. Now, I want to give a shout out to Drew, who's been sending me, found me a couple of cannoli places in Green Bay. We're going to try to hit up there. And, I'll tell you this, Mr. Larry, I just want to get this out of the way.
Yes.
I'm not going to read what he wrote on the note, but he probably never listened to the show again, knowing that I shared this, but I don't care. The dude's amazing. He literally sent us a card. Sent us a card with a couple fitties and said, "Hey, man, y'all have a meal on me, have a daddy soda on me, enjoy the draft type thing, man." I'm just telling you, the people that we've met doing this pod are just absolutely amazing. So, again, thank you so much to Mr. Larry. Thanks, Drew, everybody helping out. Looking forward to meeting a bunch of you at the draft as well. So it's going to be an absolute blast, man. And we did crack 204,000 views in the last 28 days. So, channel's doing great. Everything's kicking in. So we're ready to roll. Get ready to go. We're going to hit on some Gute pressers tonight, if that's cool with everybody else. That sound good, fellas? Kind of, we haven't heard from Gute in a long time. Let's see, where he's at in this whole process and kind of what's on the forefront of his mind. I want to give a shout out to the local media too in Green Bay, the Beat. They asked some damn good questions, this presser, and they really navigated it well to try to get as much information as possible. So kudos to those guys. Matt Schneidman got a good pop out of the crowd as Gute got him. I don't know if y'all seen it or not, but we'll play that clip as well. So we ready to roll, boys?
Ready to go. We got Excelio in the house.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm doing work in the background, Clayton. So where am I starting?
You're good, dude. Listen, just work on the board. Let's get that horizontal completely updated. I went through as soon as I got off of work and added in roughly 100 grades in for Daniel Jeremiah. The board shifted dramatically in some cases, and then also went through and added in a ton of Greg Cosell. I literally went through the scouting write-ups that he did well over 120 players, and was like, okay, this is what I think we should give here in a bonus.
So I'm just starting at Ashton Genty and going from there. Just update all those numbers from there.
You talking about the horizontal board?
Yeah,
that's it, man. Let's just build the board out and be ready for it to be laminated tomorrow, and we'll all have a copy at the draft. So that's it.
You got it.
All right. Appreciate everybody in the chat. If you would hit that like button on your way in, really, really thank you guys and gals for hanging out with us, man. Y'all are good to go. So let's hit it, boys. Let's go ahead and get to a presser here from Gute. There we go. That'll work. And is Emilio off the screen now? What just happened here?
Yeah, you just kicked me off. It's cool.
I can still hear you though. That's really strange. Let's see if it'll let me add an audio. This is really. No, can't do that. Dynamic grid.
I've never seen that. How is that even possible?
Yeah, that's really strange. Well, I did it so we could have in the background. Let me see if it'll let me edit this real quick. I apologize. Obviously, we were not ready to go. It would not let me add a third. Unbelievable. Emilio, you can hear me though, right?
Yeah, no, I got you. I'm still here.
All right, cool. Well, we're just going to leave your ugly mug off the screen and you work in the background, all right? You chime in anytime you want.
Yeah.
To the back of the podcast, Emilio.
All right, here we go, guys. Here was Gute. He was asked about aging rookies because of the NIL. Obviously, players are staying in college longer now because they're making, in some cases, millions of dollars to stay in college football. Can't blame them one bit. So what you're going to see is this shift of players getting older coming into the league. So I know people are going to freak out that someone's not 21 and a half years old and being drafted and then bitching and moaning the entire season because they're too young and inexperienced. But that's something that's going to continue to evolve and change. Here was Brian Gutekunst on that topic there.
You're in those 5 years removed. The COVID years, some red-shirted, and then NIL. Is there a pocket there that might be there in the 6th and 7th rounds or Saturday night of guys that have played college football for 4 or 5 years?
I hope so. I mean, I think the thing that I think I spoke on it earlier on one of the last times I talked, but it's a unique class. The numbers, particularly on the bottom of the draft and even in free agency, undrafted college free agency, were just really high. I think there's a ton of guys that came back that would have come out earlier that came back and played because of NIL and the transfer portal. And really, again, we've got a bunch of guys in this draft that played, 6-7 years in college, right? So we got a lot of older guys, 24, 25-year-olds in this class than we've had in the past. We'll probably see that for a little while going the next few years. So that has made it a little bit unique because of the numbers. And, I'm always on a journey to try to, to narrow it down because it makes things clearer for me. But at the same time, the guys deserve to be up there. They deserve to be up there. And we've spent a lot of time in that department.
All right, there you go. So that's obviously Gute talking about how the NIL is reshaping the draft every year, right? So I want to get your all's take on it. Is there anything you want to add to that? We're going to get into him talking about rookies contributing right away as well. But Tim, this is something we talked about, man. As college football, the landscape is changing there. It's going to continue. You're going to get older rookies coming in to the league for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what NIL is, right? Name, image, and likeness. So I think if you're grinding and you're going to school and you're trying to get an education on top of playing football and making money for that university that you're playing for, nothing wrong with getting a little money for yourself. So you don't Chipotle while you're trying to go to practice and stuff. So I'm all.
Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I go back and forth with how I feel about the NIL and what that's done, to the NCAA and total in college football. And at one point, like Tim just said, for the first time in forever, young athletes that really don't get a lot of, they basically have to go to the 3 to 4 year kind of jail sentence before they can go out and make their money. You know what I mean? And then they come back and for the first time, they actually are able to make, like Tim just said, off of their likeness. They actually are able to make some money, and they probably are exploiting it a little bit, moving around and getting the most out of people and squeezing every cent they can. But I always think about, did you guys ever see that episode of South Park where they float the NCAA with Cartman? I'm just saying, student athletes. Oh, that's very nice. That's what we call them. Like that, to me, I'm happy they're getting paid, but it is going to affect the ripple effect is going to happen in the NFL. You never thought in your life that Gute'd be like, oh yeah, 6 or 7 year old, college players. It's like, he's grinding his teeth. Like, no.
Amelia,
I'll tell you one positive out of it is that, at least it eliminates this under the table backdoor kind of stuff that we saw in the past, right? At least it's all out in the open now. Everybody knows what's going on. So I think that's one positive we can get from it.
Chuck's saying kids doing 6 years in college and got 8 actual credits. Yeah, we're drafting. We're basically drafting Van Wilder and Tommy Boy now.
Yeah,
there you go. Amelia, I know you're excited about it because that means college football players got their real names on the college football video. Right?
That's big. That's huge. I mean, being able to go through the cards and they're just telling me how good a player is just by their overall, it's money. But no, I do think it's kind of cool. Obviously, they're still going through it. I feel like kind of like a COVID thing too. We're finally getting past that. Now we can wrap, like you said, wrap his arms around how that's really going to work. I think that it kind of adds to the fact that they get to pick and choose, what they're doing on combine and drills like that. So I think it's kind of just ever changing, and you kind of got to work with it as it comes.
Definitely. All right, moving on to the next comment here, Tim, if you'll give me another screen grab, sir. We got Gute on whether rookies
Thug life.
Whether rookies can contribute right away or not, and do they expect rookies to contribute right away? Here's Gute's answer.
You need your first round pick to contribute right away.
No, I think you'd love to, but I think a lot of you guys have been around here. It's great when they do, but that's not always the case. This is the transition to the National Football League is tough. It's not always easy. A lot of times it's really determined by opportunity. You know what I mean? If you take a guy in a particular area, that he's just going to have a lot more opportunity than somebody else, and we try to stay away from that drafting for need. We try to just, take the best player available if that's possible. But most of the time, a guy's impact in his rookie year comes down to the opportunities that he had more than anything.
Right. And listen, this is something we've talked about pretty extensively, right? Like we all get caught up in, you got to take a number one receiver. Guys, number one receivers aren't falling off trees, right? Same thing with like an edge defender. When you're picking on the back half of the first round, it's not like you're picking players that are just a slam dunk. They're going to step right in and be a starter. You would like for that to happen. And in last year's case, you had Edgerrin Cooper, 2nd-round pick. He should have been starting from the get-go if he hadn't been hurt coming out of camp. Like that dude, it just clicked. And that's what Gute's saying you'd like for him to. But your roster is built in a way that you don't have to have those guys contribute right away. I mean, think about the Jets who were picking high all those years in a row. They landed some damn good football players, right? But even the fact that they're putting people like Sauce Gardner and these high-end draft picks out on the field immediately, it's not like they're just every one of these players are dominating even in the top 10, right? You'll typically get 2 to 3 busts in the top 10 just about every year, right? So I think it's important that you curb the enthusiasm on these rookies, and then if stuff clicks, then that's absolutely awesome. So I don't know, Tim, you got anything to add to that, man? And the fact that, like we said, or actually we'll start with you this time, Jacob. Jacob, with what Gute said there, I love that approach. Like, look, the chances that you get a receiver that's going to be better than Romeo Doubs, whatever, like, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, they're just going to step in there, all of a sudden be the number 1 receiver. It's highly unlikely unless you're picking in the top 10. In that case, maybe Tet McMillan, right?
Yep. Yeah. And that's what we've dealt with as Packer fans for basically my 7 years plus on this spinning earth, is that we want us to do so much with so little in the first round. And we expect so much without having the understanding that, we're usually picking way past 20, right? Wouldn't you argue that we probably are always 25 plus most years? I mean, you just don't get absolute blue chip gems that fall in your lap unless you're really good at drafting. And I'd argue that Gute, when they ask, with his record of drafting, do you think that when they ask him the question of, do you think that the first round or the first rounder that you draft needs to have immediate impact? He's going to say, absolutely. And every single one that I drafted sucks. And, they're never going to progress and all this kind of stuff. No, that's not what he's going to say, obviously. So he's going to have to take an approach where, especially when you're drafting for guys with traits like he has typically sometimes done, when you look at guys like Quay and even Devontae and LVN and Eli Stokes, we saw potential that labeled them a first round pick because of the traits and the potential they had. Now, we have had the argument back and forth many, many times about whether or not that approach has been successful or not. I'd argue probably not as successful as we'd like in the first round, but as we just get out of the first, it's very successful. So it is what it is, man. And sometimes you're never going to hit 100% on the draft. It's just never going to happen. You're lucky if you hit 10%. And I think Gute consistently will hit anywhere from 20 to 50, and we should be happy about that.
Right. And we typically make those teams that they'll quote unquote luck up and hit on a bunch, like Seattle back in the day that built the basically the foundation of those Super Bowl teams there in Seattle, right? The Super Bowl contending teams year in and year out. That's not normal. It's just like Philly. It's not normal that Philly has hit on so many draft picks here of lately, especially getting a little later in the draft, still in the first half, I believe, when they got Jalen Carter. But obviously, it gets way more difficult the further you get down in the rounds, for sure. What do you think, Tim? You got anything to add to that, man?
My bad. I'm looking at my my Twitter feed right now, and I'm talking to McCall Hardman Jr. on Twitter right now. We're gonna go bowling after the draft. He just hit me up, man. So I gotta handle business real quick. But I will say this: one thing about a Gute that I've noticed, if he's got his heart set on somebody, he's gonna do whatever it takes to get him, and trade up, trade down, stick and pick, whatever it is. And at the end of the day, there is no doubt in my mind that whatever he's going to do in this first round is going to surprise a lot of us. That's all I'm going to say. It wouldn't put it, I wouldn't put it past him to, move back or stand pat. But, most fans will probably look at whatever he does as a reach if they're, not in love with the draft pick. We saw that last year with Jordan Morgan. Everybody was upset. And I think it was a good pick. But we'll see what happens.
Right. It could end up being a bad pick, right, Emilio? But as it sits right now, I don't know how people can just look at that and go, okay, he tried to fight through a shoulder injury he sustained very, very early in the training process, and all of a sudden he's a bust. It's amazing.
I mean, you got to give him some time. They're never perfect coming out of college. You're always Aaron Rodgers was always working on something in year 15, right? So it's like you always are trying to get better. I think that you got to give him a chance, and like Tim and Jacob were saying, I mean, obviously Gute's been cooking, and he learned from Ted, and he said even Ted put him in his place a couple times. So that's what it is. You just got to show up, do your job, and hope that it works out. It's all about the projection.
That's right. There you go. All right. So next clip here, a couple of first-round picks that they made here recently with obviously Quay Walker and Devontae White. He was asked specifically, do you have a plan in terms of that fifth-year option? I know Chris Ian's listening intently because there's 24 Krispy Kreme donuts on the line here. Here's what Gute had to say.
Brian, have you made a decision on the fifth-year option for those two guys yet?
I think we're pretty close. We won't deal with that until after the draft, but I think for both those guys, whatever mechanism we use, we'd like to keep those guys around for 26 and beyond. So whether that's they're doing the fifth-year option on these guys or extending them one way or the other, we're planning to do that. We'd like to do that.
So there, obviously, he's talking about, you may end up using the fifth-year option to bridge that gap, but it sounds to me like he plans on keeping both of them. I think he's bluffing a little bit on the Quay Walker side of things here, and I don't know how you feel about it, Emilio. That's a lot of money for a stack backer that hasn't really been dominant. I think Quay's a good player. I don't think he's a great player, and when you got to pay him, a combination of stack backer plus edge money, that's a lot of money to pay out for somebody like that.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why he was trying to work it like, hey, we're going to try to get it squared away. He wants obviously to get it taken care of. You got to bring that kind of talent back, first round pick, that type of stuff. But I think you're right. There's no way he's really looking at that, fifth year option as the go-to. Let's get a 2-3 year deal done and kind of go from there.
What about you, Jacob? How do you feel about the fifth-year option there with Quay and White? And based off what he said, I mean, it just sounds like he wants them both back. I think Devontae White, if they can't reach a deal, I think he's going to hit him with the fifth-year option.
Yeah, I go back and forth with what I think about Quay Walker. I really want to like him, love the player, love the intensity, love the number, love everything he brought. It's just after 3-4 years of seeing what the product is, I don't honestly believe he's worth a fifth-year option unless he takes a real big step this year, which it's possible, and I hope he does. I really do want Quay on this team. If he can put it together, it's just I think specifically with Quay, you have to look behind him. Whereas as opposed to when you look at Wyatt, I don't see anybody really chomping at Wyatt's ankles, being like, we got somebody that's ready to replace you. Quay's got edge behind him, a guy that clearly was the best linebacker on this team. No question. And also you've got guys where possibly they could take a step, guys like Hopper and McDuffie, and maybe they can actually show us something there. So I would be less likely that he does it with Quay. I think Devontae has shown way more promise, way more kind of juice where we need him. As far as being we wanted a pass rush and 3-tech, right? That's what we got for sure. However, he's not a well-rounded 3-tech right now, so I could see there being a little skepticism on all of them, and I have to believe that there is a little bit of Gute wanting to stay with his own picks. You know what I mean? Like the guy he put his butt on the line and said, "These are my guys." So obviously, I wouldn't expect that he's gonna cut bait that early with him if he doesn't have to.
All right, get a dance with the one that brought you, man. And when you cut bait that quick with a first round pick, Tim, it looks like you're admitting, all right, we missed on that one. As a fan, I appreciate that. But you got to think as a general manager, there may have been conversations in that draft room, in that war room, where you stood on the table for this dude and maybe 2 or 3 scouts were going, I like this guy better. You want your guy to pay. You want to give him every opportunity to pan out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we've seen precedents for that, right? Mm-hmm. Darnell Savage, Eric Stokes comes to mind. We can go up and down the list. So it's tough because you got your own name and reputation on the line. Like you said, you're standing on the table, beating the drum for a guy, and then you give him a year, 2 years, even 3 years, and you're waiting for him to, take that step, and it just doesn't happen. I can see why GMs in the league, want to give their guy every opportunity to make a splash, and sometimes it hurts, sometimes you end up holding on to a guy a little too long. I mean, we're the kings of, get away 1 year too soon rather than 1 year too late here in Green Bay, but it doesn't always work out that way. And we've seen it in the past couple of years. It does happen, especially with those first round picks for sure.
Absolutely. Willie with the super chat said Tom Grassi smoking a cig. LOL. Does this look like Tom Grassi, or is that what he's saying?
Is that supposed to be Gute?
That is Gute.
What are you talking about? That is good. Were you trying to say this is AI generated, Jacob? The hell?
No.
And is that supposed to be a SIG or something else?
I was gonna say, I don't know. It's
Hey man, there was a couple images I had to rework them because it did look unfiltered, and I'm like, I do not want to send the wrong the wrong message here, you know. So, thank you for the super chat there, buddy. Grassi's the man. There's no doubt about that. All right, up next, Gute is asked about Tet McMillan. Listen to this pop he gets out of the crowd here as he got him on Matt Schneidman. Let's hear what he had to say about Tet McMillan.
Strongly on what they've done to kind of get us to where we are right now.
Brian, there was the report that you were the only GM to go watch McMillan's workout in Arizona. What
I was there.
Oh, you weren't? Okay. Pretty serious.
No, I'm kidding. No, yeah, I was there. I don't know if I was. Yeah. And I don't know if I was the only one there. Maybe the only one reported to be there. But no, good. You know, we had him up for a 30 visit as well, and we've kind of. He's a third-year junior coming out, so we've spent a lot of time with him. So it's been good.
You've ended up with a pretty high percentage of 30 visit guys being on your team. So when obviously you can't draft all 30, but when you use those, especially when you have 3 big name wide receivers be part of that process, you get the Javon Walker question every year. But do you think you're looking at the position any differently this year because of the visits you had and maybe where your roster is at that position?
No, I don't think so. I feel really good about our roster right now. I think that's one of the – it doesn't happen every year. Every year is a little bit different. But, if we had to go play next week, I feel really good about our roster and our ability to win and go compete. So, really across the board. So, hopefully as this draft unfolds, we're able to just kind of sit back and select the best players that fall to us. That'll be, I think something we prepare ourselves to be in. So, no, I don't think we've looked at it really any differently other than certainly if there's an opportunity to take a player at that position that makes sense, we'll do it. But I don't think we feel like we need to do anything.
I swear, man, I think Gute's in a good place here, guys. I really do. And that answer there, and again, him cutting up with Matt Schneidman, I think is absolutely awesome. He just seems like he's comfortable. He likes the squad he's got put together. We were talking about this a little bit yesterday, and I heard someone else talk. I swear I hear some live shows, whether it's Milwaukee or Madison. Amelia knows what I'm talking about. Do you ever get the feeling that people might be listening to our show a little bit, Amelia?
A couple of those lines, man, they sound pretty familiar.
And again, if that's the case, that's absolutely awesome because I love listening to those pods. I love listening to those live shows. But it's just funny how we cover a couple things the night before, and then all of a sudden, bang, they're talking. It's like a topic, But anyway, just hearing them kind of go through that whole process and talk about everything from a wide receiver standpoint. Tim, man, it sounds to me like Gute's in a real good place.
Yep.
And you have Tet McMillan in. You've got to at least be entertaining the option of, hey, if he falls far enough, we may trade up and get this guy. You know what I'm saying? I think it's highly unlikely it happens, and maybe they didn't get the information they needed to warrant them going up. But it seems like that was at least on the table, man.
For sure. And whether it's trading up or if he falls and we go wide receiver in the first round, I could see that being just as likely of a possibility, especially when you're talking about a guy like Tet McMillan, again, try to predict what Gute's going to do and see how that works out for you. The best you can do is stack your board up and look at these guys and see how the draft starts to fall. We talked about it last night, maybe 10 or 15 picks into the draft, you might see guys making moves. But I think Gute is just as content to stick and pick as he is to trade up or trade down in this draft. So, flip a coin and see what happens.
Yeah. What about you, Jacob?
Yeah, I don't see him going up for Tet. I just don't. But like Tim just said, if there is a situation where like Tet's out there and it's pick 20 or something like that, I could see Gute just being like, oh, all right.
That's pretty
But I really go back and forth with whether or not the fact that Gute is in Green Bay, that it is at Green Bay, like if that's going to actually, he obviously he's going to say no and won't make any decision like for me whatsoever. It has to weigh a little bit, Even if he never admits it, even if nobody ever admits it, it has to weigh a little bit. The fact that they are in Green Bay, the hometown crowd, everybody's expecting it. The vendors, all, you know what I mean? Like there is some sort of aspect there where like there's a pressure on him to make that first round awesome. You know what I mean? I just can't imagine the thing where like, hey, with the 23rd pick, the Packers trade out of the first round. We'll see you tomorrow. It's like, all right.
I can see it. I can see that though, right?
I would love it.
I'm gonna do what's best for the team, right?
Exactly. And
that
would be the ultimate.
Your point though, like to your point, Jacob, like a little bit. You got to think that a little bit. Goody's probably thinking about that, but I don't think it's enough that it's going to influence him. You know, either way, he's gonna make the move that he sees fit. Right at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was just like a week or two ago. Mark Murphy actually made the comment like, "If it's best for the team, trade out of the first. I don't care that the draft's in Green Bay. I would be over the moon if they traded back. And you know, would I rather them stay in the first? I probably would, just to kind of get your pick of that litter from 10 to 40. Like, okay, there's still some of the guys that's got the maximum grade in this tier type thing. If indeed it is pretty even from 10 to 40, but at the same time, if you traded out and got into the second, and all of a sudden you've got 2 2s, 3 3s, and an extra 5th or something, I'm gonna be over the moon, not too, man.
Yep. And that's what Goody was saying, was like, you know, if it's in our worst interest to trade out just so that we can get a couple more picks just to back up a couple spots, like we're not going to do it. If that's the case, we got to take the player that's there. You know, we got to make sure that we can still get the guy if we're going to move back in the first place. So, you know, it wouldn't be, I feel like, you know, we get some of those trades. If you were to trade out of the first, that's like 10 spots. Even if you go to the Browns, you know, you get the second pick in the second round. I mean, you're still losing 10 players right there. So you would think that it'd have to be just a trade back in the first and then kind of go from there to try to get a little capital.
Right. You guys, I think it was Ryan's pod this morning where the rumor on the street is that there are multiple teams looking to trade back. That doesn't just mean that we get to trade back. You have to have somebody that's willing to come up.
That's exactly what DJ was saying on his, was like, dude, he's like, yeah, I got a lot of teams that are trying to put it in reverse, not a lot of teams that are trying to put it in drive.
Right.
So I mean, that's a fact. I mean, how many people want to come behind us? How many people want to come up? Like, not a few. I mean, a few with the people remaining in the first. Maybe you get a couple of those, you know, the Giants or the Cleveland, they want to get a 5th round option on somebody. Fine. But it seems so thin this year.
Now let's flip the script on that real quick. If everybody is looking to come back, that should make it a little easier to go up and get a Ted McMillan.
That's completely fair. That's completely fair.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dave. I didn't cut you off, man.
No, I just was going to say that it like you just said, that it's an intriguing thing. It's a give and take. It's like if all these teams, I mean, look right behind us, the Vikings that have 4 picks. You know what I mean? They're definitely in that trade back division. But it's like, which team would you rather trade up with? You know what I mean? Obviously, you'd assume that the Packers are going to have more to give you, kind of thing. And so it is just kind of a cluster, and it does make for an intriguing first round, because I would argue that other than maybe the first pick and maybe pick 2, no one has any idea what the heck's about to happen. And that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it really is, man. I'm looking forward to Peter Schrager's mock draft. We got the most recent accurate mock draft by Brendan Donahue that we're going to cover either tonight or tomorrow. If we do a show tomorrow's going to be hectic. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. But Peter Schrager put out a tweet earlier today too, and he said the 2 guys who have won the interview process and are universally beloved as people in addition to their playing ability: number 1, Jalen Walker, edge; number 2, Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver. Yep. So don't be surprised if we trade up to get Emeka. Or, you know, if he, you know, somehow, some way falls to, I'm telling you, man, Greg Cosell knocked that one out of the park. He talked about Emeka Egbuka being, this dude is going to be a 10-year pro when he steps into your organization. And now you're hearing everything's just falling right in line for that. And you go back and look at these past Ohio State receivers. They have all translated over to the NFL almost seamlessly, right? Your Chris Olaves, your Garrett Wilsons, your JSNs, all of them. So Marvin Harrison
Jr. Yep. Great.
You know what's crazy too is
I would feel really good about not getting Jaden Higgins if we in fact moved up and got Emeka Egbuka. Like, great consolation right there.
I will say this: going through Daniel Jeremiah's top 150, Jaden Higgins jumped pretty far. Matter of fact, we did not have a grade for him originally for Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel Jeremiah has him in the 46th spot.
Higgins?
Yeah, Higgins.
Nice.
So, and again, that separates himself from Trey Harris a touch. Trey Harris is now in the 52 spot for us. Jaden Higgins is in the 47th spot. So,
see, as big of a Jaden Higgins guy as I am, I love him in the second round. I don't necessarily love him in the first round. So if we go up to get Igbuka in the first round or a Tet McMillan or something, I'd feel great about that for sure.
Is it weird that at this point, I think that we have a better chance at Tet falling than Igbuka? And I've heard it from different people on multiple podcasts today, even that there's talks that rumors that the Jags at like 5. Because think about this, the Jags at 5, a lot of people are saying you got to go D-line, you got a running back, maybe something like that. If the Jags were to go and get an Igbuka, who everybody like we're talking now is basically said this dude is a consistent, like a plug and play starter that's going to be there for 10 years. They got him and Brian Robinson or Brian John, whatever the new guy was that absolutely killed it last year. Brian Thomas, thank you. And you got 2 wide receivers that are absolute pro ready that are on like their, one's for 4 years, one's for 5 years. That you can restart a whole organization from that. Like, so the fact
Duval.
Why'd you do that? It is interesting though. Like this draft is for certain teams, there are certain plug and play type prospects which could completely shift the rest of the draft, which is really fun. It is fun.
Yeah. All right, let's get into a little RAS talk, man. I thought this was absolutely awesome that the RAS conversation got brought up to Gute earlier today. Give me another screen grab there, Tim, if you can. So let's go back to the ghetto, the gangsta himself here, Gute. All right, there we go. We're good.
Oh, is that the one we're going with? Okay.
That's the one we're going with right now, okay? So here was Gute asked about RAS scores. And you guys have heard us when we mention RAS and it's baked into our draft board. How many times did we say early in the offseason, I don't think the Packers are using RAS scores, but they have their own athletic testing, their own system to determine that. We're using RAS as ours, right? And we won't go into all the details on how we use the RAS and the bonus system we utilize, but here's what Gute had to say about that.
Questions last year about the RAS score and how that fits in. Obviously, Stewart has a 9.99. I think Rashawn was a 9.95. In what ways do you use that as a puzzle piece? And how much of that do you have to be a little bit careful with, especially if production doesn't match RAS score?
Yeah, so we don't use RAS score at all. We don't have anything like that. We do have some analytic scores that our analytic people do on their own that measures, athletic traits and other things. But we've never really used an I know what that is. We've never really used that in any, whether it's free agency, the draft, or anything like that. So now I've come from the Ron Wolf, Ted Thompson, so like traits are very, very important to us. Testing numbers are important. And that's part of the changing world in scouting right now is, these guys are really picking and choosing what they do. We don't have universal numbers across the board like we used to. Which makes it tough. But there are some new technologies coming into play with GPS data and things like that you kind of have to try to make up for it. So the traits are really important to us, but at the same time, on like a cumulative RAS score, we've never really used that at all.
There's so much.
All right, so there you go. That kind of answers the age-old question there. Coach Lynn says Packers beat or stepping up their questions this time around. I thought they absolutely crushed it. I really did, man. And listen, we've been critical of it at times. Like, boy, can we ask important questions? Like, what are we even doing here, right? So the fact that we're getting kind of to the meat, as we say down here, to the meat and taters of the whole conversation, I love it. Absolutely love it. What do you guys think about that in terms of the RAS score? I mean, I feel like we've been on that from jump, right? Like, hey, they do have their own athletic profiling that they use. The other thing too is he said another part of that presser kind of made me believe that they watch the tape and can determine how fast someone is, as opposed to just leaning on the 40-yard dash 210.
We'll call it the TAS score, the TED athletic score. That's call it what you want to call it. We all know that Gute's paying attention to things like this. He's not going to all in out publicly say that he's leaning on RAS. Of course, you wouldn't expect that from your GM. So whatever they want to call it, the Packer athletic score, whatever their name is, they've got their measurables, and they're probably looking at more factors than we are when we're breaking down these prospects. So I just think it's Gute doing exactly what Gute does, saying the right things and keeping what's best for this organization in mind at the forefront. Yeah, GAS, Gute Athletic Score, Brambo. I love it.
It's the gas, baby.
Yeah, baby. All gas, no break. Let's go. Do-rag in full effect right there. Gotta love it.
Right. Emilio, you got anything else to add, man?
Yeah, just like I think you were going to hit on it, Clay, but the fact that like the Power 5 schools, things like that, they can get the athletic, kind of numbers from that, having the tracking and all that, right. GPS tracking and the speed monitors. So obviously you got to really do your research on those small schools. Maybe North Dakota State, any of the anybody you're trying to get out of D2, D3, you're going to have to really do some digging, but that's all fun of the game. I mean, that's why they brought in Gute, right? Because his scouting report was so clean. He had so many hits. He knows what he's looking for. I think that we really just need to trust him. I do think that we are onto something, though. I feel like, when we're kind of dialing it in, even Wildy's question of like, hey, you can't obviously take all your Senior Bowl players, but right. You likely draft those a lot. I think that we clearly hit that. We've been on that from the jump.
First of all, real quick, Greg got very upset in the chat that we didn't acknowledge that he did come up with gas first. It was before any of the other guys, so you guys are a bunch of copiers over there. And Ian the Great's got a great idea. He goes, let's call it the Wolf Athletic Performance Score. You can't call them WAPs, all right? Emilio, cover your ears.
Call it RAP, Ron Athletic Profile. There we go. Ron Wolf, right?
Unbelievable. The rap score.
Hold to the wrong stuff.
DJ Clayton in the mix. I love it.
Hey, all right. So let's move this thing along. Too far. All right. Next question. Give me another grab here if you can, Tim. Not that kind of grab. This is a family program, but that'll work. All right. So Gute on answering character questions. This is another big thing, right? We talk about the athletic score.
Character questions. We got to get serious. Let's go serious.
Get serious.
Business suit, dude.
So here he was kind of being asked about, how do you kind of weigh out those character questions you may or may not have about a player?
Physical stuff and medical stuff, wonder the test, this, that. Is there any sort of questions that you lean on to try to gauge a player's competitiveness, how much he just wants to be a football player out there? Is there something that you lean on year after year you feel has helped you gauge that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, we do. It's their past history and what our scouts are able to determine while they're in the schools, and what the people that are around them say about them, how they handle adversity, how they handle teammates, all the things that go into that. That's really, now we do some psychological testing when the guys actually take the tests. That gives us some insight into some of those things, but really it's the boots on the ground and the guys that have, really invested in the people around that player and how he's handled himself in the 3 or 4 or 6 or 7 years he's been in college.
LeVay laughed when he said 6 or 7 years in college, right? He's so pissed off about that.
What do you think the psychological testing is? Do you think that's meeting with the team professionals, or do you think that's Wonderlic combined with
I think it's that, whatever it was called, the SI score, whatever it was, that, remember the testing they did that CJ Stroud that was the big, they pretty much all but confirmed. He had been in meetings all day. He was dog ass tired. He comes in, takes the test, botched it. He ends up being a great quarterback. Right. So I think when he giggled there or kind of grinned and said when they'll take it, many agents are like, my player's not taking that now. Not after what happened to Stroud. So I think that's what he was referring to there, Tim, to be honest with you. Okay. Now, there may be something psychological that they do on the visit, but again, the player can refuse to even, submit a test there. Now, I will say this, as he was talking and saying, think about what he just said. We have all of these people we have our contacts at the universities. We got guys going into the college realm and getting this information. And if there was a problem with Ted McMillan, do you really think that they would have taken him and brought him in for a top 30 visit? Wouldn't they have already found that information out and been like, all right, let's remove him off the board? Yeah. Here's what I'm getting at. It's almost like they brought him in to confirm, here's what we came up with. There's no personal issues there. Same thing with James Pierce Jr. We did extensive investigating on the James Pierce stuff, meaning I reached out to 3 different UT Vols insiders, one of which came on the show. Every one of them said, Bub, I've been covering him the whole time he's been at Tennessee. There ain't nothing there. Mm-hmm. And the whole he didn't show up to practice thing, what happened there? Like we said, he said, I can tell you right now that was a personal issue. I'm not going to disclose the details of it, but that's a nothing burger, essentially is what he's saying. Now, when you look at Ted McMillan, the video that surfaced of him saying he didn't like to watch film, literally of all the stuff that they've tried to do to bring him down the board, right, during lying season, the best they could come up with was a secretly filmed video his freshman year of him saying he doesn't like to watch film. I think he checks the box for me. I'm sorry. Like, you go into an NFL locker room and ask all 53 guys, do you like watching film on your own time? They may say yes, but I guarantee you get a couple daddy sodas in them on Larry's dime. Thank you, Larry, again. What's going to happen? I guarantee they're going to be like, yeah, man, I try not to. Hell, Kyler Murray had someone opening the iPad so it was showing he was logging hours while he was playing. What are you even talking about here? So,
they can't all be J Love, right? They can't all be sitting on the couch with wifey watching film, and Netflix at the same time. So we'll just leave it at that.
And listen, I do want that player that's a film junkie. Don't get me wrong. Yep. But you can't disqualify someone because their freshman year they said they didn't like to watch film. That's just
absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you think that Green Bay, just as a destination, just as a reputation, is a self-filtering point for certain prospects where they think if you don't love football, you don't go to Green Bay? You know what I'm saying? Like if you just want to come in, like AJ Dillon didn't want the club scene. He didn't want to be, with the paparazzi. He didn't want to see the glitz and glams of certain big cities. He wants to play football. That's what they asked Tucker Kraft. They said, why don't you go home? He goes, I live here. I got everything I need here. I work out. I football. What about the big cities? This is the biggest city I've ever lived in. Like, this is what I need. Do you think that there's a type of self-scouting or a type of self-evaluation that helps Green Bay look at these types of players and say, hey, you know what? I just know for a fact this just going to be a great fit because I can tell this is more of a city guy.
Right. I rock in the chat says I don't like mowing the lawn, but I do it.
That's why they hire us, Clay.
That's exactly right. That's why they pay way too much money for people like us to mow their lawn. No doubt about it. Good to see you. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, moving along here. Actually, that's going to do it for hour 1. We're going to continue this conversation with, I think we got 2 or 3 more comments from Gute, and then we're going to do a 7-round mock draft on hour 2, but we'll continue this conversation with Gute, just trying to get a little insight right as the draft approaches. And this next comment, he's actually specifically talking about the draft board. I think you guys will want to see it. That's called a tease. We'll see you in hour 2. Appreciate you.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome in hour 2. All right, next comment here from Gute is on the draft board. I thought this was interesting. Yeah, but listen, he's not going to tell us how his board lays out, but I just love hearing a GM kind of talk about the horizontal board because we mention it all the times, and it is cool how I'm hearing a lot more podcasts mention it now, and it's not because they heard it from us. It's just people are really catching on to how this process actually works. I think it's absolutely awesome. Here we go. Here's a Gute talking a little draft board.
You're picking in the 20s year after year. How much in years past have 3 or 4 trade-ups have shocked you that that changes your board when you get to your pick, and how much time can you spend on scenarios and if that might happen?
Yeah, so you're saying if somebody trades ahead of us and takes a player maybe we weren't expecting, happens all the time. And so we spend the majority of our process is really trying to get the board right vertically by position, and then at the end here we do spend a ton of time obviously horizontally and trying to get that right as well. So once you kind of get to that spot, you kind of work through those scenarios a little bit, what you might be faced with, but yeah, so to me, you've gone through it so many times that, even when it happens, it doesn't tend to, take you off out of your thought process because you've probably already gone through it.
There you go. And that's what we're talking about, the mock draft, guys. The mock draft came about way back in the day. Basically what happened was there was a guy that put out a mock draft guide. I can't remember his name right offhand, but Michael Lombardi's talked about it a lot. And GMs, I mean, this guy, he owned a funeral home of all things. I guess he had plenty of time just sitting around, plenty of dead time, sitting around at work, right? And that's the kind of sick humor you get right here on the show. So he's sitting around. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna start combing through and going through scouting reports and this and that, and I'm gonna put together kind of a draft guide and go through a mock draft. What are the team's needs? NFL teams back in the day actually used that guide to go by. And then they started doing their own mock drafts. I guarantee you the Green Bay Packers have done 500 mock drafts this offseason. And it's funny how some of the listeners get upset. And they're like, I'm so sick of mock drafts. I get it. It gets redundant. And like people said last night, you're talking about the same players over and over again. Yeah. And we're talking about different scenarios where they may go to this team. He may fall this far. You got to be prepared for every situation that could come into play. And that's what Gute's talking about there. You've already walked through it. Nothing will catch you by surprise. Nothing. You may look up and go, I can't believe that player fell to us. You may look up and go, boys, we got to trade back. Every one of our top guys are gone. And he did say last year that typically you can get, he said typically in a normal year, every one of their first 3 rounds are top 50 players on their board. Emilio, you've been looking at the board more than anybody, bro. This all kind of rings a bell, doesn't it? And how you got to work the board and work through your mock drafts and kind of see, okay, we did it with Ted McMillan earlier, you remember? Yeah. We were like, what are the chances he falls to 23? Very, very slim. All right, we better really do some research on these other receivers and see if one's worthy of the 23rd pick. And if not, be prepared for Ted McMillan to be gone. If he falls in our lap, great. That's best case scenario.
Right, and that's why he's kind of scattershot with, his 30 visits right now. All right, let's cover our first-round basis. Who do we really think can fall? And then go from there. Then, we'll find a couple in the later rounds that we really like, we really want to get our eyes on. But, yeah, I mean, even just that – it's just crazy once you start getting that information just from what you changed up today. I mean, there are people jumping like 2 tiers in the horizontal board. Maybe they were out like 90.1. They jumped all the way up to, 79.6. And you're clear up into another tier. You're in a new cluster. And I just the fact what I did like what Gute said was the fact that they had it all squared away Friday. Yeah, and that they probably could have just taken the week off and then came back. So because right now is when you can really mess it up. You're looking at it way too fine. You're trying to comb through, pick out one problem or one thing you really like. I think that right now is that time you get your what's DJ call and play the one your one red player, the one that you would not take
red
no matter
star.
what.
Red star.
Yeah, and then the one your blue star, the one that you would absolutely stand on the table for you and. Maybe that's something we got to square away before the draft. We all get 1 or 2. And then, cool. I think just those little things, that's why you scouted all year. Stand on the table for your dude and go from there.
Yeah, that's one of the articles that we kind of wrote to there on the Patreon group. If you guys want to join our Patreon group, it's the best way to support the show. Got tons of access in there, different information. We uploaded another Chalk Talk segment. Next week, when we get back from Green Bay, I fly back into town Sunday. I think you do too, Emilio.
Yep.
Get back into town Sunday. My goal will be maybe by Monday or Tuesday, definitely by Tuesday, to start putting Chalk Talk episodes together of these prospects. It's going to be absolutely awesome. We'll go through and just show some tape of them and some of their highlights, that type of thing. What do they do well? But, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about what he said there about moving around the board there, Tim, in terms of maybe trading around? And like Emilio said, man, they said they could have took the week off. You know it ain't going to happen. But they could have took the week off because the board is ready.
But perfect example, real quick, Tim. Ty Felton, 112.8. He's jumped up to now 98.8. Jumped 2 tiers just because we got a little bit more information, squared the board away.
Yeah, I saw that earlier in the group chat. You got guys that are moving 100 spots right now, depending on how you're looking at it. So I think if you're Gute and the brass and you're in that war room, you have a plan. You're making a plan, but you're ready to pivot. You're ready to adjust at the drop of a dime. You could be 10 picks, 15 picks into this draft, and all of a sudden we're moving up or we're moving down, or we're moving down significantly and picking up later draft capital. We're adding a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, to the board, and giving ourselves more ammunition. Or maybe, like you said, you've got that, your red guy and your blue guy. Well, you're going to move up. If you have an opportunity to move up, maybe you do. Maybe it's only 1 or 2 spots to get your guy. You never know. There could be a trade with, Indianapolis or somebody, maybe Ja gets packaged with some picks and, we move up to get our guy. I think it's important to have a game plan, but be ready to maneuver and bob and weave as the draft unfolds. And I think Gute's ready to do that for sure.
No. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I mean, you guys kind of stole my thunder there. I will reiterate what Tim just said too, is we're not looking past the point that Jaire could be packaged with something. I think Malik Willis could possibly be packaged with something, and that would be that would make me sit up in my seat for sure. When you get that kind of thing, and I don't want these things necessarily to happen, but it is a possibility. We got to be ready for it. I think we've done a good job on this podcast of getting you guys ready for the prospect of moves happening. We didn't harp on it. We didn't say like this is gonna happen. We know this is gonna happen. All we said is this is the possibility, and I think we've done a good job of giving you a scenario and what to expect. So it just makes the concept even more fun, dude. I can't get over it, man. Thursday's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast.
Yep.
All right. So the next comment, really, really quick. 18 seconds long. Gute was asked about Jaire Alexander. And I want to give a shout out to our Aaron Rodgers, not the Aaron Rodgers, who sent another video over that we may play the soundbite here in a second. It's from Wilde and Tausch earlier today, one of my favorite podcasts. Here is Gute on Jaire Alexander. He was asked about him earlier today.
Would you still like to have a resolution on Jaire before Thursday? And if you don't trade him before or during the draft, are you just going to keep him on the team for next season?
Yeah, we'll work through that. I don't really have any updates on Jaire. Obviously on our roster right now. We'll see how the draft goes and then see where we are at that point.
So pretty simple, right? Keep that screen grab pulled up for me there, Tim. This was from ESPN Milwaukee that tweeted this out. I believe this was Rob Domofsky on. I believe it was on Wilde and Tausch. It may have been on one of the other shows here, though. It was posted by ESPN Milwaukee. Let's hear what Rob Domofsky's latest on Jaire Alexander, which, listen, Rob has caught some heat over this. There's a portion of the fan base that says they're out to sabotage Jaire Alexander, and they're just doing this because they've got a vendetta against Jaire Alexander. I don't believe that, guys. I really don't. But here's what Rob Domofsky had to say about it.
This is as long and drawn out a process for a guy who I would say with 99.5% certainty is probably not going to be on their team.
Rob, when you say they don't want him, obviously I think that includes Gute in the front office, but does that also include Matt LaFleur and the coaching staff?
No, 100%. Yeah, this is an organizational feeling. The frustration level has come to the point where, they just don't want to not know from week to week whether a guy's going to play. It's not unlike the David Bakhtiari situation. Dave's injury was seriously severe. Jaire's maybe not as severe, but if they could get an assurance that Jaire Alexander is going to play 12 or 13 games this year, I think they would take him back. They just do not and cannot be in a position where they don't know. They're using a roster spot. They're giving practice reps. They're spending money on a guy that they don't know how many games he's going to play.
All right, so there you go. That was Rob Domofsky talking about the Jaire situation. I will say this: there was something else he said in that podcast. I was listening to it live, and that was on Wilde and Tausch, by the way. Jason Wilde been on his game, man. I've enjoyed the heck out of that show. And if you guys aren't checking out his articles he's writing right now, just kind of giving you a perspective on the current Packers roster going into the draft, it's been really, really good stuff over at Channel 3000. So make sure you check it out. Chuck in the chat, LOL. Work through it means stop asking. And I'm not going to, so quit asking, right? That'd be the perfect time for that drop. Now
I'm not going to, so quit asking.
It's one of those situations where Rob Domofsky and Jason Wilde this entire time have been saying firmly, Jaire's not going to be on the Packers, right? And we've said more recently that what's the point in trying to get rid of him for nothing? Like, right. You can wait until the week right before the season starts. Now, you got to hold a roster spot. And obviously, once you go from 90 to 53, that roster spot is extremely valuable. But that's when you start getting into some guaranteed money is if he's on the roster week one. So why not wait? Just like with the draft, when you look at the draft, you're holding on to him if you are indeed going to trade him. if a team doesn't get the corner that falls to him, you guys have heard me say that 100 times, right? And that's kind of how I think Gute's looking at it. It's like, hey, look, if a team doesn't get the corner they want in the draft, let's go get Jaire. Well, let's say all the teams do get the corners they want, and you still got him. Guess what happens in training camp? Injuries. And if an injury occurs, then you trade him, right? I'm still holding out a little bit of hope. That they said 99.5%. I'm still holding out a 0.5% that he's on the roster because I think the roster is better with him on it. Unless it inflates to, as high as a second or a third round pick because a team is really, really vulnerable with their roster, Jacob. That's the only way that I see it. Like I'm not interested in trying to get a 5th round pick when we could hold on to him and potentially get more, or who knows, maybe this thing patches itself up. Because like Tim's pointed out, Jacob, they don't have to do anything with him. And if he says, well, I'm not playing, well, guess what? They get every bit of that money back due this year. So I don't know, man. It's what do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, it's a simple example of that. Jaire just doesn't hold the cards. He doesn't. And whether or not he wants to, or whether or not he wants to puff his chest out and say that I deserve this and I can do that, I don't think Gute, if it's a poker game, Gute's just looking there. He's got the OG glasses on. He ain't even smirking. Like, he's not making a move. He's just tapping his hand and going, make your move. Because we have exactly what we need from you right now. We got you painted into a corner. And I would think that Ja and his representation understand that. It's probably why we haven't heard, a lot of kerfuffle, if you will. Great word, by the way, kerfuffle. It's a weird scenario that I don't want to be in, and I don't relish in any way. But like you said, I find it hard to believe that if there is a way to get Jaire to play, that we don't make that happen. But I can't see giving away Jaire for less than a 4th or a 5th round. You know what I mean? Like when you go in any sort of mock database, even like with PFF wants to give you a 2nd and a 3rd, 2 3s and a 4. Like they will give up big money as far as what the Jaire trade market is. I just realistically in real life, I don't see it being anywhere near that. And I think that's probably maybe tick Jaire off a little bit, because if you know anything about him, he's got an ego, which, well deserved. But do you think that he wants to let himself be traded for a 5th, or would he rather be cut and then go find another place to go? Like,
definitely wants to be cut. Definitely.
I was going to say, and I think that might be the Packers' best option too, right? Like that's why we're not tipping our hand. You let this play out. If he's a post-June 1 cut, we save money on the cap, and then you move forward. If you can get a 3rd round, or you can do better, then you will.
Yeah. Do you think mid-draft, do we have a better opportunity to get a better draft pick if we were to because like you said, dude, how many teams, like after the first, maybe they only had 3 cornerbacks that had a 1st round grade, they're like, this could actually be a difference maker, a plug and play type corner. Mm-hmm. 1st round goes past, 2nd round goes past. We didn't get
you're talking about all pro caliber when he's healthy. There's no two ways about it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's funny too, because what's the problem we keep running into in our mock drafts? If you don't go corner 1st or 2nd, you're in no man's land. There's going to be other teams that feel that way too. Just about guarantee it. What do you think, Emilio? How you feel on the situation, man?
Yeah, it's tough, man. I'm
over here staring at this board.
Yeah,
man.
obviously I'd love to have Ja back, but man, it just all the signs are pointing to it's not going to happen. So at this point, you just got to get as much out of it as you can. It's that rusty car, right? That's been sitting in the garage that you got to sell, but you just can't get around to doing it. But at one point, you just got to throw it up on Craigslist, right? And
does it have a rusty undercarriage?
Oh, it does have a rust. That's the problem with it. I can't move that kind of stuff.
That's right.
You would love to get $1,200 for it, but the reality is you're going to have to settle for $7.
Yeah. I mean, and you can scrap it for $300, but that plus $400, I'll take that all day long.
Scrapping it for $300 is cut, right? Taking a 5th, that's that $700 range.
Yeah.
That's where it works.
What about that Cars for Clunkers? Is that a thing?
I don't think that's a thing anymore, Jacob. I could be wrong, but
that's Michael Scott, one of his best quotes.
There's still a thing. All right, boys, y'all ready to do a mock draft?
Yes, sir.
We're at the hour mark. We did good there, man. I know sometimes those pressers can be boring, but hopefully we gave you some conversation in between them and kind of give our take on it. Not that we know anything. Obviously, we're a bunch of knuckleheads, but I just think it's really cool to kind of hear what the GM has to say 2 days before the draft. And is he going to tell you, is he going to tip his hand? Probably not. But there are, if you really pay attention, you can catch just some little snippets of things that they're thinking about, right? And like I said, how they're working the board and all the preparation that went in. I think it's really good stuff, man.
We got time for one real quick question here from Mr. Larry Cano.
Absolutely. What's up, Larry? Hey, thank you for the package, Larry. We got it, buddy.
Appreciate
You were
it, Larry.
way too kind, Larry. Way too kind. Go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, he's just wondering, post the 25 draft, do you think that anyone would be willing to trade a 26 draft pick for Mr. Aja?
That's a great, here's the normal operating procedure there. Whenever you trade a pick or a player, if you go next year, it jumps one round. So let's say a team is willing to give a 4th round pick for Ja this year. Next year, that would be a 3rd rounder. I could see that being the case. And then, it doesn't even necessarily mean you can't use that 3rd rounder this year. You could use that as draft capital to trade back up in the draft as well. I think that's a great question, Larry. Let's go around the horn with that one. So I think that's really interesting. Go ahead, Emilio. What do you think, man? Do you think that's on the table there? I haven't even really thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, DJ was talking, said what Philly's got 12 or 13 picks next year. So I could see them being like, hey, let's just give up some for next year. We'll grab Jaire, an all-pro corner. We'll give them, a 5th and a 6th or a 4th and a 6th or whatever it needs to be. And to them, it's, hey, we still have 8+ picks. We'd still be over, we still have double-digit picks, but we got an all-pro corner potentially. And to Gute, it's like, all right, we got the, if it's a headache, if it's a problem, whatever, out of the locker room, out of, off the paycheck. And now let's move forward with those draft picks and try to get squared away next year.
Yeah. Professor Cake says, listen to y'all making changing my oil that much more relaxing. Hey, this is a family show, sir. Calm down. Go ahead. Tim, you got anything else to add, brother?
No, I'm ready to go, man. Let's get it.
All right. Let's get into the mock draft, gents. What's wrong with you, Jacob? You put your head out of the gutter, man.
It's a family show.
It is a family show. All right. Here we go. Mock draft. What are we thinking here, gents? How do we want to approach it? Do we want to throw a wrench into this anyway, or do we want to maybe – we can't really trade up, to be honest with you. It's too hard. Hey, that's the kind of content you come here for, Bates. I'm sorry, man.
Wait, is there any sort of who's the decider? Is there any kind of input here? Who's the final decision?
Jacob, you get to make every pick. We're all just going to shut up. You're just going to make
I made the best one. I'm just saying. I made the best
You what? What'd you say?
I had the best. I think out of all of us, I think that it was consensus, right? Everyone thought that I had the best draft. Everyone.
Jacob,
no.
Can I ask you a question, Jacob?
Some people were saying that. Not everyone was saying that.
And I saw a lot of people.
Can I ask
Never helps a rusty undercarriage sleep at night, man.
If you had to pick one position, that Packer fans have clamored for the most in the last 10 years, what would you say it would be, Jacob?
I would have to guess it'd be the wide receptor.
Right. And what did you do on your draft, Jacob?
I got 2 of them.
Right off the bat. Jacob
that
was playing chess. He was like, listen, boys, I'm about to win this crowd over right now. I'm going receiver. So, all right, let's do it, boys. Here we go. Let's crank it up. And let's see if anything falls different this time. I've seen Cam Ward come off the board there early. That's a good sign. Maybe this will be accurate. So the Packers are on the clock, and look at here, Jaire Barron on the clock. Do you guys think there's any chance Jaire Barron will be there at 23? Because maybe I'm just being too negative in my own mind. I've just convinced myself there's no way Jaire Barron's going to be there at 23. Last few mocks we've done, though, it's kind of fell that way. Am I wrong for being too pessimistic, I guess is the right word there, thinking that Jaire Barron's not going to be there at 23?
No, I think that's fair.
I just feel like most teams aren't looking at him as an outside corner, which could be the reason that he would fall. But I do believe that he is a plug and play corner at some position. It doesn't matter which one. At least he can help your team. I don't know. Amelia, what do you think?
The Jaire thing is, if the dude is going to be a nickel, which I think he probably is going to be a nickel, Greg Cosell's been talking about how important is that nickel position in the defense. And he goes, honestly, I would probably consider that a top 10 position on the whole team. Mm-hmm. That's a guy that has to come down, play the run. That's a guy that needs to know, run fills. I mean, I forgot who said it, but that nickel corner could be fill and B gap on a run fit. I mean, you got to be in the box. You got to be paying attention. You got a tight end over. You got a slot outside. But then I still have to get over there basically to Elton Jenkins and try to fill that hole.
Yeah, and here's the thing, man. We talk about the tiers of importance on our positions, right? We say 3-tech and edge defender, right, on defense is top tier right there. They're on the front. That's getting pressure on the quarterback in a passing league. But some people don't look at defensive tackle as that important. Why do I look at that important? It's the closest position to the ball on defense, right? And then what's the next tier? Mock linebacker and post safety. Why? They're covering the middle of the field. You're using the boundaries as extra defenders, the out of bounds as extra defenders, right? So you want the center of that defense to be strong. Emilio, I think it's a great point. I would consider a slot corner more important than an outside corner, hands down,
right?
Because it's closer to the middle of your defense. They may fire on a nickel blitz. They may plug into the B gap if you're playing some kind of an odd front, like, rolling the linebackers over to one side, shifting the defensive line to that side. They have to become a backer all of a sudden. Yeah. They can also cover deep third if you run a fire zone. There's a lot of different things.
And how often do you want one of your safeties having to play slot corner? Or would you rather just have a legit slot corner?
Right. It's a great point. And again, Javon Bullard was much better in the slot than safety. That doesn't mean he was starting caliber player. And he may turn the corner this year and be dominant. I hope he is. But if you go into this offseason and the best player available is Jaire Barron, he's got the versatility to kick inside to help you with certain matchups on any particular Sunday, or he can play outside, which he's proven he can do that last year, not this past year, but the year before.
Right.
Then you get kind of what if Javon Bullard takes that extra step? Now Jaire Barron plays outside and you're off and running, right? So I would much rather have a 3-tech, but again, Jaire Barron, I believe, is probably the best available here in this particular mock draft. We got to get going though. I apologize for asking that question. What do y'all think? What do you want to see here? Jaire Barron, Jahad Campbell, Marion Hampton, Josh Simmons, Nick Emenware, and Kenneth Grant are the best available.
Not to be boring, but it's either Jaire or Kenneth Grant right here for me.
It's either Jaire or Josh Simmons for me.
Where's Josh Simmons on the board, Emilio?
Ooh.
I caught you off guard.
Simmons is 24th.
Okay, so he's 24th.
But he's actually slipped behind Josh Connerly.
Got it.
After the
update, right? Because I'm trying to think. DJ,
but that was one thing we did we'll double check or talk after is Ohio State and Notre Dame. Is that something we can consider a gold if it's a 30 visit? But we'll talk about that after.
Yeah, well, let me mention it real quick. We were going over it.
Yeah, it ain't even working.
We're literally troubleshooting it on the fly here.
Is Walter Nolan available?
Chat, real quick. Ask you a question. You guys know how we're doing the gold boxes for the Senior Bowl and the top 30 visit. Emilio pointed out, like we had talked about on several shows, Gute loves national championship players. Like that's been proven with Clemson. I think it's the reason he went with Amari Rodgers, to be honest with you.
Georgia, Clemson,
Georgia, Clemson,
Ohio State.
And now you've got Ohio State, right? So do you guys think if a player played on a national championship team, should we throw something in there? We could do like the trophy emoji too.
Well, I was saying one trophy, but two, like we're not giving them the gold bar because they didn't perform in the Senior Bowl, but most of the national, like I don't know if any Ohio State players actually played in the national championship, but didn't accept their Senior Bowl invite because of the long playoff run. Is that something that we should give to just, hey, the national championship winner, national championship teams, Notre Dame and Ohio State? That was kind of where I was going with it.
My vote would be national championship winner, but I want to hear what the chat says. You guys throw it in there, and we'll go through it after the show there.
Because at that point, Ibuka would get a star. I mean, or Ibuka would get the gold bar. He'd get the spade and all that. So it would really kind of tie it all together. It's just, do they deserve it if they didn't perform in the Senior Bowl?
Right. Yeah, but doesn't the big pointed out too, though? Well, that means Grant gets a trophy. That's a great point. Michigan won national title.
Yeah.
Should we have to limit it to the current year? You know what I'm saying? Just something to think about. Go ahead, Jake.
I just feel like that when you get guys that are at Michigan, Ole Miss, Ohio State, they already have that essence. If anything, they already have a leg up. I don't want to give them more points.
No,
just the
no,
fact that
no.
they've
All
been-
I'm saying is this year's Senior Bowl. I don't even care about Kenneth Grant. I wanted this year. The only reason you went on a long playoff run this year and didn't perform in the Senior Bowl was because you played in the national championship. I only wanted.
I agree with that. I'm saying the national championship team, I completely agree with. I'm just saying if you're a quote unquote upper echelon school, I feel like you already have a padded stat line. Does that make sense?
And it won't control. It will not move them on the board at all, Jacob. It's just going to simply be a marker,
like a highlight. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Cool. All right, Tim. Walter Nolan is here. Tim said, "Hell with it. I'm going to make a sandwich."
I'm here. My bad.
Walter Nolan is on the board. You asked, and he's a little bit lower, obviously, than Jaire Barron. Walter Nolan. Where's Walter Nolan at? He's in the 19 spot on our board. So. It comes down to
I'm never going to say no to D-line in the first round in this draft. So
Kenneth Grant's 13 on the board. So
Grant, Nolan, even Tyleek. I'm trenches all day, first round.
Yeah, I think Kenneth Grant would be my pick here. What do you boys think?
Do it,
Jacob. Kenneth Grant or Jaire Barron, man?
Grant.
All right. You convinced me. Grant's the pick. So with the 23rd pick, we go defensive back. All right, let's move along pretty quick here if we can. There went Walter Nolan. He is now off the board. Jeez. Now we go back to all Trey Amos. Trey Amos,
guy.
Jalen Milroe, Travion Henderson, Mason Taylor, Azare Thomas. Those seem to be the top picks there. There's Jaden Higgins in the 51 spot. Got Trey Harris a little bit lower. So, this kind of feels like it should be Trey Amos here. But was there another position we should take a look at before we make it final here? Maybe wide receiver. I'll take a glance.
Higgins or Harris or Besh.
So Higgins has moved up on our board. We talked about this a little bit, right?
Yep.
Jaden Higgins is now in the 47 spot on our board. All right. And then Trey Harris is a little bit lower than him. Trey Amos. So we just said 47, right? Trey Amos is in the 40 spot on our board. To me, that probably makes the most sense. Let's take a quick look at Landon Jackson. Where are you at? Landon Jackson's in the 33 spot.
Ooh, I like Landon.
You went and got 3 tackle. I feel like if you pass up on corner here, you're going to be hurting.
I was going to say, if we go edge here, we definitely got to try and grab a corner at 87.
Yeah.
I would probably go corner.
Yeah.
Corner. All right, so
Trey Amos.
We're taking Trey Amos over Jaden Higgins. Now, Trey Amos is higher on our board with the hopes that maybe a Trey Harris or a Jack Besh, somebody like that might fall to us, right? So Trey Amos is the pick 54, A+ grade out of Ole Miss.
Let's go.
Yeah, I would be okay if and this is like the last couple of mocks we've done, they felt like this, right?
Yeah,
I would be totally on board with that, man.
If you told me we're not getting Higgins at 54 and we're getting Trey Amos, I would be very happy. And look, we can take Jack Besh right here at 87.
Ooh, that's a hole.
I love Jack Besh.
Let's look at Jack Besh on the board here real quick. He is in the 63 spot. Greg Cosell loved him. RAS 9+. Absolutely dominated the Senior Bowl. I like it. Great hands, too. We talked about that. Good against not as good against man coverage, but great hands for sure. Dave MX6 says, let's go with Horton in the 3rd. That's what he said, right? Torrey Horton is 111 on this board. Torrey Horton on our board. I want to say I was kind of surprised. Yeah, he's in the 92 spot on our board. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 73 on the earliest indicator we had. I didn't give him any bonus for Greg Cosell. Greg Cosell is not big on Torrey Horton. That kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But anyway, Jack Besh, I think, would be the pick here. Emilio, is there anybody else we may be overlooking that you think, nope, you got to go a different route?
Running back? Is he going to say running back?
If Travion Henderson is there, pull the trigger.
What about Ali Gordon? What about Ali Gordon? Is Ali Gordon?
Have you watched it? I'll send you guys a video of Travion Henderson picking up a blitz. If that man,
oh my God,
if that man is available in the 3rd round, you are running that card up.
You just picked the worst way you could ever be like. You got to see this running back. You should see the way he picks.
Dude, he can do everything else. The one thing they can't ever do is block. Thank you.
God. Hey, look. All right, here's the pick.
I'm sending the video after this.
We're going Jack Besh. Atham says a good thing. We can actually partner him with Bush Light. He can be Besh Light. All right, it's gonna be amazing.
Besh lattes, baby. Besh lattes.
I'm all about it. All right, what are we thinking? It was Besh. Is that it? Is that the pick?
Take Besh.
I like it, man. I would be okay with Besh in third. Emilio, you okay, man?
Yeah, no, I'm good. If Besh is fine. If Trayvon was there, we're taking him, though. I'm sorry.
Get out of here.
All right, another A+ there. I like this. Is the first time we've mocked Jack Besh in a long time, ain't it?
It is.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Up next, pick 124, top available. Kyle Kennard, edge. Damian Martinez out of Miami. Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss. Deion Walker out of Kentucky. Jonas Sanker is actually a recommended pick. What are we thinking here, boys? What position
we look at? Tackle.
Offensive tackle. You got Logan Brown.
Oof.
Chase Lunt.
Where's Chase Lunt on our board?
Let's see here. Do you got Emilio? You want me to look it up, bro?
Oh, you're gonna have to look that one up.
Emilio said you didn't take a running back. My God, you're on your own. Chase Lunt is in the 99 spot on our board.
99. We can get him at 124.
That's good value. Now he'll probably kick inside, but he can play. He can play tackle. He's shorter arms, but, keep in mind Balaga had shorter arms too. That's the one I always fall back on and talking about that. Let me see where Logan Brown is real quick. What is it?
I said so did Bach.
Same with Bach, yep. Another good comparison there. All right, so right now it's Chase Lunt, interior. Yeah, I think it's Chase Lunt here, boys. I'm okay with it. Anybody disagree with it?
I'm cool with that.
All right, Emilio, what do you think? Is that all right with you?
Bring over the UConn. It's all right. Bring him over.
It's probably going to look like a bad pick here because he's 141 on their board and we're taking him 124, but I don't care. Got to be for it. Chase Lunt out of UConn. All right, up next is going to be pick 159. What position are we thinking here, gents? What do we want to see? Is we got Devin Neal, Emilio. Got us a running back. Can he pick up the blitz?
He was actually pretty nice in college football for a while, but I don't know about his blitz pickup.
Where do y'all got Savion Jones at?
Savion Jones. That's the SAI one I can never find, right? Let me see here. SAI. Savion Jones, we got at 127, meets the threshold and a Senior Bowl participant. That's interesting.
From a big school.
Yeah. That's 127. Let's remember that. Tim, is there another position you'd like to see here, man?
Linebacker?
I was going to say, in Smile Munden, quite decently graded or thought after.
It's weird because some people have got him real high and others real low. We got him in the 136 spot, so that's fairly close to where who was it we were just looking at? Edge defender? Savion?
Savion.
And where do we got Kaiser again, real quick?
Jack Kaiser.
Kaiser? Hardly knew her.
Jack Kaiser is 160, a little bit lower.
What about Bassa?
Bassa
Jeff
is 115. He's actually higher than all.
Here's a guy.
Senior Bowl participant, does not meet the threshold though.
Okay.
He stood out at the Senior Bowl though, really popped there. So
I would say let's go with edge then.
He would be best on our board. Jeffrey Bassa would. We haven't ever drafted him, right?
No, we haven't.
No, I don't think we have. I don't think we've drafted Savion though either.
That's true. So Savion is, let me put it this way, Bassa's grade is a 105.7. Savion's is a 114.2. So that's what? Almost 2 full tiers.
Can we take a peek at D-line one more time?
Yeah, let's do that, Tim. I think that's a great idea. D-line, Jordan Phillips, Elijah Roberts, Riley Mills, Ty Hamilton. Let's see where Elijah Roberts is. I want to take that a little bit higher.
Roberts, Cam Jackson, or Phillips?
Elijah Roberts is an edge defender, versatile though. He could play. I think we had all determined that he could play interior. He carries the weight to do that. He's in the 110 spot. He's versatile. He's a captain, has a wrestling background. Packers met with him early.
Put him on the board.
And he was a top 30 visit.
Get her done.
It's going to look like a bad – it might not look like a bad pick. I like Roberts here, though. What do y'all think, boys? Anybody disagree?
I like it.
All right, Elijah Roberts, defensive line out of SMU. All right, up next, pick 198. Again, we have went Kenneth Grant, D-tackle, Trey Amos, cornerback, Jack Besh, wide receiver, Chase Lunt, offensive tackle / interior, and Elijah Roberts, versatile defensive lineman. So, you okay,
I like
Jack?
my man Jack right there, Mr. Geyser.
Somebody's gonna get a hell of a football player in Jack Kaiser, man. I just don't think it's gonna be the Packers. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah, he's in the 160 spot on our big board. The main thing that brings him down was the consensus big board early, and Kyle Krabs had him at 188 early on as well. What positions y'all want to see, boys?
Can we look at tight end real quick?
Yeah, I was going to say tight end or
corner.
Gadsden is 158, and then Jalen Conyers is 174. So Gadsden is definitely higher ranked here.
We got to get Emilio a running back in this draft. Let's take a peek at running back.
I like that, Tim. I like that.
Jordan James out of Oregon, Raheem Sanders out of South Carolina, Kalel Mullings, Jaquavius Marks. That's looking like cheeks, ain't it, boys?
Isn't Marcus Yarns?
Wait, Jaquavius Woody Marks, 133 on the board.
Hey,
USC Senior Bowl.
Another USC running back?
Greg Cosell -3.
I'm gonna lose 6 subs and get hate mail for this.
What were the other running backs?
You can call them whatever you want, Emilio. Nobody knows.
Where do you have Marcus Yarns? Emilio, where do you have Marcus Yarns? I'm pretty sure I heard Cosell talk about this guy.
Yarns is 204.
Okay.
You really want to lose subs? Let's look at quarterback.
Hey, let's go all in. Dylan Gabriel. Which, by the way, man, Cosell really liked Gabriel quite a bit. Just going through the scouting report on him, kind of surprised me, ain't gonna lie. Anyway, what are we doing, boys? Talk to me. We've named off about 6 that could be potential picks here, right?
I like Gatson here. Not to be boring, but I like Arande Gatson at 198.
Get you tied in.
Yep.
I think it would be.
We talked about him being a boundary receiver too, in a pinch.
What do you think, Emilio? Are we overlooking somebody here, man?
No, not really, because I'm kind of poking through that level right now, and I'm just not really seeing.
All right, let's go Arande Gatson here with pick 198. Everybody good with it?
Mm-hmm.
All right, there's Janae out of Syracuse. All right, pick 237, gents. 237. See what we've gotten so far. D tackle, corner, wide receiver, offensive tackle, D tackle, tight end. So we're done with D tackle. I'm thinking interior offensive line and another cornerback would be what I want to see. Jack Nelson at tackle. You got Jack Nelson, Miles Hinton, Xavier Truss, Esapo. Esapo, by the way, I seen somebody tweeted something out, pretty prominent site the other day. I can't remember what it was, but it was like it wasn't just some Tom, Dick, and Harry throwing a tweet out there. And they said that 500 snaps, 500 pass blocking snaps, 0 sacks allowed, right? And I think we talked about that when we went through his top 30 visit. Esapo's a name to watch late in the draft for sure. Interior offensive line, Clay Webb, Tyler Cooper, Luke Newman, Marcus Weir's down there. Emilio, can you check a couple of these for me real quick?
Yep.
I'm telling you, Clay Webb is very, very grades out very well. Small school. I know Emilio loves Luke Newman. Marcus Weir grades out incredibly well. Small school.
Clay Webb, Emilio.
Yeah, 172.
Tyler Cooper.
253.
Luke Newman.
258.
So it would definitely be Clay Webb. Where's Marcus Weir at?
Marcus.
Wehr.
Thank you. 279.
So Clay Webb would be the offensive line pick here for sure. Teddy Buchanan, where's he at?
Ooh, I like Teddy.
I just added him. He just got an updated number. He is 176.
176. So that'd be good value here too. I just really feel like, man, corner is probably the way we need to go here. I don't like looking up there and just seeing one drafted corner, especially if Jaire is going to be gone. Hancock, I feel like we took recently, had a pretty good grade. Am I wrong there, Jordan Hancock? I want to say he was underneath.
It's Herbie Hancock.
Sorry.
Emilio?
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
I got it.
Who was it?
You're working.
Jordan Hancock.
Jordan Hancock is 186.
Yes, 186. That is correct.
Appreciate that, Emilio.
That is on me.
Anybody opposed to Jordan Hancock here? Going another, it's either that or try to go.
It's that or Clay Webb.
I was going to say Clay Webb. I like Clay
72.
Webb.
All right, so he's ranked higher. Let's go Clay Webb here then. A+ out of Jacksonville State. Clay Webb, interior offensive lineman. I like it. All right, so we feel like we've done our due diligence there at offensive tackle. Got to get a corner, don't we, Tim?
Corner.
Look at
Longer
that,
beam.
boy.
Longer beam.
We waited and got Jordan Hancock anyway. Where's longer beam, Emilio?
Longer beam. I mean, I think we just need to bring him in anyway, but 295.
Nice.
What
about Jalen Smith?
Yeah.
Jaylin.
Smith is 223.
Yeah, it's Jordan Hancock.
Gotta go Hancock.
There it is. Jordan Hancock is your pick out of Ohio State, another national champion player, right? Mm-hmm. Ron, what is your problem, sir? Oh, man, y'all need to get your head out of the gutter. Thank you, Coach McCarty. Appreciate you. Cam Ward, number 1. Travis Hunter, number 2. Abdul Carter, 3. Armand Mimbo, 4. Mason Graham, 5. Ashton Gianti, 6. Ty Warren, 7. Jalen Walker, 8. Kelvin Banks, 9. Mike Green, 10.
Oof.
Will Campbell, 11. Tet McMillan, 12. Will Johnson, 13. Shador Sanders, 14. Shamar Stewart, 15. Matthew Golden, 16. Tyler Booker, 17. Emeka Egbuka went 18 to the Seahawks. Him and JSN reunited. That's pretty cool. Malachi Starks, 19. Colston Loveland, 20. Derek Harmon, 21. Michael Williams, 22. We got Kenneth Grant. I love that pick at 23. Donovan Jackson, 24. Jade Barron went 25. Josh Connerly Jr., 26. Gray Zabel, 27. That just feels like a Baltimore pick. Nick Scorton, 28. Jahad Campbell, 29. Savone Revel Jr., 30. Tyleek Williams, 31, and Omarion Hampton. And, man, could you imagine grouping him up? That running back room is going to be sick and
Saquon, A.J. Dillon, Hampton.
I was just going to say, this looks like the most realistic first-round draft that we've seen other than the Philly pick and probably other than the Texans pick, just because they are so offensive line needy that I don't think that Connerly or Gray Zabel, I don't think they'd let them pass that. But that's pretty good.
Yep. All good says great draft. Better if we would have taken Nolan. You know, you guys know I love Nolan. I love Walter Nolan. But Kenneth Grant, if we stuck to our board, man, he's significantly higher than Nolan. He really is. There's no two ways about it. So, real quick, because we may not be able to do a show tomorrow as we're packing up all the gear and getting it ready to fly out to do the live draft party in Green Bay. Here is that mock draft from the most accurate recent mock drafter. Okay. And again, his name is Brendan Donahue. All right. And he's with Sharp Analysis. So I'm going to read it off real quick and we'll kind of see if it compares somewhat here. Cam Ward, number 1, got it, right? Travis Hunter, number 2, got it. Abdul Carter, number 3, this recent mock draft, got it. Okay. He's got Will Campbell going to the Patriots at 4. Our mock draft had Armand Mimbu going there. The Jaguars get Mason Graham at 5. The Raiders get Ashton Gianti at 6. The Jets get Armand Mimbu, so right there in the same ballpark at 7. The Panthers get Jalen Walker at 8. The Saints get Jackson Dart, number 9. Holy cow. Bears, Ty Warren. 49ers, Kelvin Banks. Cowboys, Tet McMillan. Dolphins, Will Johnson. Colts, Colston Loveland. Falcons, Mike Green. Cardinals, Michael Williams. Bengals, Derek Harmon. Seahawks, Gray Zabel. Bucks, Jahad Campbell. Broncos, Omarion Hampton. Steelers, Shador Sanders. Chargers, Kenneth Grant. Packers get wide receiver Matthew Golden.
Here's the guy.
How would y'all feel about Matthew Golden? Fastest 40 time of all wide receivers, right? Definitely can play outside. There's no two ways about that. How would y'all feel about that? And we'll wrap the show up with that.
As president of the Jaden Higgins fan club, I would not be upset at all with Golden at all.
He's a little lower on our board, Tim, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't look at Golden like, oh gosh, Golden. Like I could see that it kind of feels like the Jordan Morgan pick last year where we're all like, I had him a little lower, but it makes sense. Yep. We got him in the 38 spot now, by the way.
Agree.
What do you think, Emilio? Would you be okay with Matthew Golden?
Yeah, but I just first round receiver, man. I don't know. I just don't know.
He was the best guy around.
I feel like Gute would take an edge, a tackle, or somewhere where you have to pay a lot of money. Obviously, wide receiver you have to pay, but down the road, we have a lot of logs in that fire, right? There's a lot of people in there, so I want my water cooler boy back. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and listen, if you're saying Clayton, you got to choose between Kenneth Grant, who we took at 23, or Matthew Golden. I'm going Kenneth Grant all day long, twice on Sunday. Sure. Trey Amos at 54. We got Jack Besh at 87. That would be a dream at 87. Chase Lunn at 124, Elijah Roberts 159, Aronde Gadsden 198, Clay Webb 237, and Jordan Herbie Hancock 250. There you go. There's the mock for tonight. Y'all roast us in the comments. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Scan the QR code and join the Patreon community, man. It's growing like a weed, and it's so cool to have that communication in there. We're going to try to do a show tomorrow. I'm probably not going to create the stream because I don't want to build any false expectations, but if I can make it happen when I get home, I'll throw it together. But I got to pack up all the equipment. If we do a show tomorrow, here's the reason I'm thinking about not doing it. As soon as the show's over, I got to tear all this stuff down, pack it up, get it put in the suitcase, get ready. I got a 5 a.m. flight on Wednesday morning. I'll be in Green Bay by noon, though, right, Emilio? Is that about the time we get there?
That is correct. We're going to
Let's go.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. So then we got dinner with the boys tomorrow night, or a Wednesday night, I should say. And our boy Larry Cano is going to pick up part of that tab. I think that's absolutely awesome.
Thanks, Mr. Larry. That's awesome, man.
That's right. That means Emilio's going to order 3 of everything on the menu and be that.
Right. Emilio's going to order $200 worth of cannolis.
Worth a shot.
Let's see here. United Bates says, I give this draft an 86% GPSR. That's guinea pig survival rate. It's an Oh, it broke me up, man. Of all the things to say about that cat, we're in here going, look at this guy. How dare he come in here and talk trash? And literally Bates says he just threw his guinea pig against the wall.
How dare you? That's what he's remembered for.
Yeah, it really is. Not Bates, the other guy, right? Yeah. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, Larry says you're welcome, guys, man. Just so cool, man. Just a silly little Packers show and meet so many awesome people. You guys are awesome. So, again, shout out to the super chat tonight, Mr. Willie. Appreciate you. Tom Grousey smoking a cig. So we got us a couple screen grabs. So here's what I'm going to do too, and we're wrapping up. The screen grab we got of the Brendan Donahue mock, the most accurate one. I'm also going to get one of Peter Schrager. We're going to save it in the system, so we'll have it on draft night. Quick reference, Tim, so we can just pop that up on the screen. Here's what Schrager is saying. So I think we're going to be more prepared with this draft than we've ever been. Let's just pray to sweet baby Jesus the internet holds up at the rental house, because if it's a couple of hamsters on a wheel over there, we're screwed.
Yep.
I could host it, right? If I had to, I could be the host, and then
wow.
Yeah.
But if we lose internet, you'll be the only host.
Whoa! Look at me. I've got internet.
I'm not saying it's the best internet. Some people would say it's the best internet.
You probably could, Jacob. You could host it, and then we might be a little grainy or something, but hopefully it'll work out. But we'll figure. Listen, if I have to run across town and pay a portion of Larry Cano's money to get internet hooked up real quick faster, we'll do that too. So I will. Money talks, BS walks. Ain't that right, Emilio?
Absolutely.
Yes,
he hasn't heard 60% of what we said on this show. He's just been staring at the screen all the time.
Dude,
65%.
65%. That's what. That's a good
117 on the board, so only got about halfway more to go. So we'll be all right. We'll get her done for the night. Patreon, join the group, so you can get your hands on it. I was just making sure you had access to it earlier today. So.
You're awesome, dude. Appreciate all the work you put in, man. All of you guys. It's been the best draft build up.
Mm-hmm. This is awesome, man. Yeah. It's always better when you walk into the test when you did your homework, right? Instead of cramming the night before.
Yeah.
Staple that stuff to the inside of your hand, Tim.
All right, that's it. We're out. Thank y'all. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack, go.
And we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.